Hit me!
Episode 379, I think.
You've got to throw some cold water on the situation. Start talking about nerd stuff.
You know, nerd culture is mainstream now, so when you use the word nerd derogatorily, it means you're the one that's out of the zeitgeist.
System activate.
This is NetHeads with Will Wilkins. It's a tech podcast. But we are a ton cooler than your typical geek.
You guys rock.
And now, here's Will.
And Tony.
No one listens to the radio. I wasn't even listening. I was listening to podcasts. Podcasts are great. Radio's boring.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of NetHeads. My name is Will.
And I'm Tony.
If you want to take part in the program, you can. One of many ways. The easiest way, if you're watching live, hit that YouTube, hop into the chat, sound off, let us know you're here. But if you're not, technically speaking, Tony, because we are broadcasting both here and on other platforms. We're broadcasting to many platforms. You're familiar with the approach. However,
yeah,
when you are broadcasting on one particular service, you're allowed to restream to other services, but they want to make sure you're not doing anything to essentially identify that you're not on that service. So you're not really supposed to show anyone every preference, which is fine because we use Restream. So you can go ahead and take part in the program, chat with any way that you're watching it, and we will almost always see your message. So that's really just a long, overly talkative way of just saying I shouldn't have said YouTube a second ago. So thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Welcome. Hope you're all doing well. Tony, I got something exciting to show you.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay an extra $25 for it this time.
Oh, good. I ain't got the money for it, so.
I went to the mailbox today, Tony. I went to my mailbox, as I am wont to do. And the funniest part is I received a notification. I'm hooked up on some service with FedEx, where now if anybody in my house is getting anything from FedEx, even if it's FedEx ground, what I'm going to end up doing is getting a text message notice that I'm receiving something. Somebody's receiving something. So most of the time I don't pay attention to it anymore. I don't know what's coming. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going on. But today I was especially confused because I received a package that's only this size and it was addressed to me. So as you can see, not a big package. A lot of the times in reference to me, you're definitely going to hear the fact that not a big package, but not what I meant to talk about today. I was thoroughly confused, though, when I also went to get said package and I got it. I'm like, it has my name on it, but what is that? Thoroughly confused.
Did you get something shady in the mail?
Right? What is that? Did you get some Tic Tacs? Are those some edible things? Is that some type of? No, it's not, Tony. Are you ready for it? Did I turn it I did turn it the right way. Because, guys, when you're doing content, okay, because technically speaking, this is content. One of the funniest parts about seeing the way YouTube has evolved over the past couple of years is that when you go into the creator studio now, instead, it used to be like videos or whatever is the way it would describe that particular area. Now it's content. It's the content tab area of YouTube Studio. So when you're doing content, you always have to think of the presentation that you're doing. As a matter of fact, I did a TikTok earlier today about excellent presentation. If you just go to my TikTok, thatwillwilkins.com. I won't play the video here and I won't belabor it, but one of my favorite things in the world right now is still Magic Mind. And one of the smartest things about that company is their packaging, because the tape is Magic Mind branded. And then you think you're just opening a box, and it's the inside of it is completely printed, completely branded.
I'll be honest with you. I saw that box. I saw the opening video, and I thought the only thing that they were missing was like butterflies, like the fake butterflies that come out of the box when you open it.
Right? Exactly. So I appreciate good marketing. So when you're doing any type of presentation, the funniest part is that video has a description. And what I was trying to say is, You never get a second chance at a first impression, and I misspelled the word second. Go figure. Anyway, I was super excited when I did open this, and I want to show it to you the exact same way. So I made sure that I pointed... Why was my pinky sticking out? It's not like I'm drinking tea. I made sure that it was facing the correct way without showing the label that has my address on it on the other side. That's some forethought. Because I know I took this out, and then I had to put it back in, and then I turned it around. I was like, did I turn it right? Yes, I did. You ready for it?
Yeah.
I'm super excited. We were told...
Wait. Do I know what it is? I think I know what it is now. Is it...
We were told
ahead,
it would...
do it.
Don't reveal it. We were told it would arrive sometime in June. Are you ready?
Yes. That's what I thought.
Best friends.
That's what I thought.
Best friends. Deadpool and Wolverine. Best friends.
And you didn't have to use a crane machine at the theater to try to get one.
Yeah, exactly. For those that don't know what we're talking about, fellow content creator and all-around cool entertainment guy, Coy, I always mispronounce his last name.
Coy Jandreau.
See, I messed it up. Jandreau. Jandreau?
Yeah.
Coy Jandreau. He did a video because there were certain theaters everywhere where it was popping up that if you had bought pre-sale tickets, you could have an opportunity to play with a claw machine in order to try and get one of these. All you had to do was prove that you had a pre-purchase on tickets. With this was just part of the Fandango fan kit, basically. Their special offering.
Right.
So there's this. There's going to be some type of digital download poster. And for whatever it was we paid, it also included the cost of pre-purchase tickets. So I didn't have to do a claw machine, and I definitely got the best friend necklace here. And it
That's
does.
cool.
It even says, you can't make it out, but it does say on Deadpool's side, it says best, and on Wolverine's side, it says friends.
That's awesome.
That right there would have been the thumbnail for this show if I didn't already do such a good one.
It's the most sought after best friend's necklace that you will not share with another person.
I'm absolutely not. No. Do you think it's ever coming out of this package? Hell no. This is it. It's going to be pinned up against the wall behind me just like this. It's not coming out. But really, it was like, what the hell was that? So that was confusing, but also very exciting. And naturally, the first thing I did, I was excited that it arrived. Second thing, I was excited because I'm like, hey, that'll help me fill 5 minutes tonight. Because that's the way we think. Everything is always... How many things, Tony, in your life, because I got to be honest, for me, unfortunately, it's an embarrassing number. How many times in your life are there things that you put off because you have a specific idea that you want to do some type... There went the first one. That you want to do some type of content regarding it. So you know you want to film it, so you leave it... You leave it on the wayside, if you will.
Will, I have a poker table that has been cut up and dismantled with that very same problem. Like,
because you're trying to build.
I have been talking about turning this poker table into a gaming table for a long time, and I am finally starting to do stuff. And I remembered to pull my camera out and record the process. And then the other part of the process I forgot to record, and I feel terrible about.
I was sent an image of said table, and I didn't understand what I was looking at. At first, when you sent it, I'm like, oh, why does the table have teeth? Because there was a piece of something that was probably ripped off, and it was the remnants of the cardboard.
Well, yeah. So if you've ever looked at those poker tables that they're the kind that flip over. So like it can look like, oh, look, it's a normal, like, 8-sided table. And then you flip it over and then, oh, it's a poker table with cup holders and trays. Well, I decided I wanted to cut the facade on the bottom of it so that I could get that octagon in the middle. So I'm going to lift it up and put a TV in it and everything else. So I wanted to have like some depth, and I had to cut the middle out. And then I got tired of trying to pry it. So I just took a sledgehammer and started banging it until it came out. And then that's when you saw the teeth on it.
Gotcha. That makes it a lot more understandable, because at first I'm like, is that like a design idea? Is it supposed to be a mountain ridge in the entrance of this fantasy realm that you're going to be unlocking for people? But no,
nope.
It's just a little bit of extra stuff, which I totally understand. Totally there. For those of you that may have been wondering, last week one of the things we talked about was the amazing Deadpool helmet that I have 3D printed and I'm putting together. I am excited to say that I have received my tube of E6000 glue. I have a gigantic package of magnets, and as I mentioned, there are 198 magnets that go into this mask. So once again, as I predicted, I've done nothing with it. Not a gosh darn thing. Not a one. But I will tell you, Tony, that after our conversation last week, I did have to dig up, locate, find Once Upon a Deadpool, which I thoroughly enjoyed watching for about 15 minutes until I realized I'm a grown-ass adult. I don't need the PG-13 version. I would really like to watch Deadpool 2 properly, so I did that. I will say, though, that while I was watching it, even though, mind you guys, one of the coolest things that I have to say, and I'm sorry to get a little nerdy for a second, and I don't know how much of it is enhanced.
Wait, we're not allowed to be nerdy here?
Oh, no, we definitely are. But I mean, like, this is almost getting into pedanticness. I don't know if the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool costume is made of materials that make it look like the diamond eyes are, or domino eyes, whatever you want to call them. Harlequin eyes, maybe? You tell me.
Yeah, Harlequin style. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
But it's really just diamond.
Yeah, I don't know if they are made to look leather and they are very tight, or if it's visual effects. But one of the things I love when he's talking is that you can see him raising the eyebrows underneath the mask. So that some of the emoting comes through, even if it's visual effect, which I don't know if it is or not. So it's a cool feature. This will have none of that, people. It is made from hard plastic. It is probably going to be god-awful uncomfortable. I will say I'm excited about this design because I think it looks a little narrower compared to some of the other designs. You will not see any of the emoting. But I will also tag in on the fact that last week I mentioned I had done a resin printing of these eyepieces. And then I decided, oh, these look so good, I'm not going to do it. Looking at the costume, though. Now, mind you, this is a hard piece of plastic. Multiple pieces of hard plastic that are going to be connecting together to form this helmet. It is in no way, shape, or form is going to emote. It's going to be very hard. But I don't want to do a lot of finishing work on it. Now, the resin printing comes off a little glossier. And I noticed looking at the mask, the real one, that, the leather does look like glossy. The moment I realized I was going to have to spray paint these with a clear coat at a minimum, I'm like, you know what? Let's try the resin printing. So I did, and it really looks sweet. I look forward to never showing you guys the completed mask and it never happening. But one of the things I also realized in looking at it, because the plastic that it's printed out of, the PLA, I tried to find the most blood red color I could, and the one that I found looked really dark red on the website. Not the case when it got here. So I am probably going to reserve myself to also doing a light black wash. Excuse me, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, Tony, but that's where you take something along the lines of either a black paint or black shoe polish, and with a heavy addition, large volume of water. So that way it doesn't really have the ability to stick on, but it does kind of tint the color. So I'm going to be doing that. But
yeah, that's
why am I talking about all this shit? I don't know.
Now you do. I hate to burst your bubble about this, but you're talking about the Deadpool mask and the emotions. It not only were the eyes CG, but the fact that when he moves his mouth and you can see his mouth moving in the mask, he's wearing a face shell, so even the mouth movement was CGI as well.
Okay, so it is all CGI. That's a little bit of a bummer, but understandable. Man, can you imagine that's your job? Because, I think about this kind of stuff all the time. Many moons ago, there was a TV show on HBO. I can't remember the name of it. I think it might have starred Michael McKean. I could be wrong. But one of the things that happened is there's a character that is, or the character in question is answering the door for his daughter's date. And he, in his mind's eye, sees exactly what this date of his daughter represents. And that is a young man who has answered the door, and his entire head, without any facial features or whatsoever, from the neck up, it is nothing but a penis. Nothing but a penis. From here to here. And the funniest thing about that, when I saw that, one, that's a good gag. The second part is, the second thing I always think is, somebody was paid to make that. That was somebody's job. So imagine you're supposed to sit there all day, and let's not even say it's Ryan Reynolds. So you're not looking at Ryan Reynolds' hollow eyes and having to paint all this stuff on. Let's think about the better one, which, if you've ever seen the behind the scenes footage for the making of WandaVision, imagine you're the person that has to sit there all day and you have to digitally paint out the Vision's ears. Paul Bettany's ears are sticking out on the side of that thing. That's your job. But it's still, I think there are a lot of people that would think that's a cool job to have. I certainly would. Obviously, I have beaten Deadpool and Wolverine to death on the beginning of this one, but this episode. But I have to tell you, Tony, that we are once again in an era that I'm kind of thrilled that we are in. We've spoken about it before here on the program, and that is the fact that we are officially in the toys spoiling things in an upcoming MCU movie. Now,
yeah, we are.
We are. And the last time I could think of that this was something major is something I've also made mention to, which is there was a Lego set that ended up featuring the Nano Gauntlet from Endgame. So we started to get some spoilers that way. And believe it or not, Tony, if you looked at the show ad right here, which, by the way, I thought this was a very clever screen capture of you from the last episode. And it's like you're motioning to the box right there. What that box that you're seeing, for those of you that aren't seeing this is a representation of the side panel from a Funko Pop from the Deadpool and Wolverine line. It's got the branding, Marvel Studios Deadpool Wolverine. I have taken the liberty of blurring out the images, but there are 4 different Deadpools on the side of this box. To give you an idea about the things that we may encounter. So, everything that you may have hoped that, why am I blanking on the name? Multiverse of Madness may have been, I think we are going to be getting out of Deadpool and Wolverine for sure.
And I'm almost positive we are going to get a reference in this movie of this being a multiverse of madness. It's got to. I could see them making that joke. I mean, they've already commented on Paul Rudd, and we know what he's done in the previous when he was with Fox. So it's only coming.
That's funny because I think my favorite line from the first episode, or the first installment in the Deadpool series, which, by the way, what a glorious time to be alive that we are getting a complete trilogy out of Deadpool, when we were all at one point lamenting the incredible leaked footage of a movie we would never get to see. We are still in Nerdvana as far as I'm concerned. I'm not playing the Flash theme because I'm not going to get content flagged like we did last time. My favorite line from that first movie was when he's getting dragged by, why can't I ever remember the name of the all-metal digital character?
Colossus.
Thank you. Because for some reason, it must be because of the C, because I always want to say Cyclops, which I know isn't right. I got to give my geek card up now. But when Colossus is dragging him after the fight, and somebody he makes mention of something like Professor Xavier, but Deadpool is just.
Oh, he says we're going to take you to the professor, and he goes, which one?
Stewart or McAvoy?
He's like, these timelines are so confusing.
Yeah, and here we are now with the multiversal tale, so it's almost coming all full circle, if you will. Especially,
can I say this with the exception of
no, you can't.
I'm saying it anyway.
I
Shut
appreciate
up,
you asking. Okay.
With the exception of like Captain Marvel being Captain Marvel and them using Miss Marvel, The fact that in the trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine, we got him saying, I'm Marvel Jesus, and he's referencing Marvel Comics and Marvel of the MCU, not just, being a Marvel or the Marvels. Like it's literally him referencing the entire studio. I love that. I absolutely love it. I love that self-awareness.
I do too, especially considering that there's two characters, in case you guys did not know, in the Marvel universe, especially when you're talking about the comics. There are two that are infamous for their fourth wall breaks. One,
Yes.
you're all very familiar with because we all know about Deadpool. Some of you may not have cared, but the other one we got through Disney Plus, and we didn't quite get as many as I thought we would. But man, when the series finale came at us, it came at us fourth wall break hard, and that is She-Hulk, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I have to say, too, I really hope in some way, shape, or form, they do bring She-Hulk into Deadpool and Wolverine. Because one, it would be nice to see the character again, since it was so expensive. We're probably never going to see another frame of a series for She-Hulk again. But I would also like it just for almost a similar scene that we saw in She-Hulk, with her looking at the camera and then looking back, and then the Hulk looking at the camera, trying to figure out what he thought he just caught her looking at.
Yeah.
But instead, I want them to have a dual fourth wall break, and then them look at each other, and both of them just say at the same time something like, "Who are you talking to?" Something like that. I would love to see that. And that, kids, is the only way, shape, or form you're ever going to see me theorize or try and predict anything that is happening in Deadpool and Wolverine. Although I'm sure Tony has some ideas.
Well, I would like to see Kevin come back. Like, I think after his appearance in She-Hulk, Kevin I think Kevin would be a really fun mix.
Okay,
with Deadpool.
You have to be clear though. He is talking about the Kevin, which is not Kevin Feige, but it is the super algorithm that creates all of the wonderful MCU content.
Which is also one of my favorite Funko Pops now.
Oh man, I didn't even know, and I don't have it. I also want to take a moment to shout out to all the people I'm seeing in the chat as well. We've got Mr. Anti-Idiotic, which, ironic that you are participating in a show that features me. We've got Miranda Janelle, That Fracking Cat, ZB, all of them joining in. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you having her. And I got to tell you something, Tony. I have been on a test. I've been on a test now. This is day 14 of the test. Do you know what I have been testing?
What's that?
The power of Magic Mind. I am a big fan of Magic Mind. I did a video earlier on TikTok about Magic Mind. And why did I do that video? Because I had a morning, Tony. Actually, this morning when I woke up, I was coming off of the first night's sleep after a very poor night of sleep, only getting 3 hours of sleep. The only way I survived through that day is I spent the morning doing what I do, which is when I got up early because I had work to do, I was up late because I had work to do. One of the things I did is I popped open my little tiny bottle of Magic Mind, a beautiful green mixture of matcha tea and special organic mushrooms, nootropics and adaptogens that give my mind a power shot when I take it. And I let me tell you something. Today is day 14. Yesterday was day 13. On 3 hours of sleep, I took that Magic Mind. I was just as functional in the day as if I had had a solid 8 hours. Cognitively speaking, I was there. I was able to focus, pay attention, have my tasks on hand, well taken care of. Today, I woke up. The first night's sleep after sleep deprivation, if you will. Traditionally, not a good day. And I will say the morning did not start well. It did not go well for me. Around 11 o'clock, I had come to the realization, holy smokes, I have forgotten to get that lion's mane mushroom, that matcha, in me. I forgot to get those cordyceps mushrooms in me. All these quality ingredients that are a power shot for my mind. And sure enough, an hour later, not only was I focused where I was not before, not only did I have energy where I was not energetic before, I sat actually in amazement that Magic Mind had provided so much for me, because usually, like I said, early in the morning I take it. Sometimes I've snuck it in the afternoon. But this time I was really, it must have been reptilian because my ass was a dragon. You following what I'm saying? But I took the Magic Mind and I had an absolutely wonderful morning experience. And even listen to me now. You do not see this type of thing at 7 p.m. Eastern, 10 Pacific, off of a guy that is sipping, sugar-free sodas and the like.
Flip that.
Yeah.
Flip that. 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, right?
Well, it's so much for the sharp mind. Look, regardless, guys, if you want to take advantage of this amazing product the way that I have let it take advantage of me, what you want to do is you want to go to magicmind.com/netheads20 or use the offer code netheads20 at checkout, and it'll get you one thing. It'll get you 20% off of a purchase, which is okay. But the best thing, the best value, and the thing I would encourage you to do, because you know what? Once you start taking it, and you may think to yourself, you know what is this green liquid I'm about to drink? Is it going to taste something like wheatgrass that's been rolled into dirt and filtered through and make my mouth feel like I've just gargled, algae? No. It's got a sweet taste with a citrus flavor to it. It is really wonderful. You can drink it with your coffee as kind of a side enhancer, the same way you might take a shot with another piece of alcohol. Not that I'd encourage that. But when you take it, you're going to fall in love with it. I promise you. You can get 48% off of a subscription. I don't know about you, Tony, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, 48% is more than 20%.
I do agree.
And that is the power of Magic Mind, folks. So again, magicmind.com/netheads20 or netheads20 at checkout to get 20% off or 48% off of a subscription. And not to mention, if you go to my socials, guys, and you're like, Will, I can't remember this domain later. Guess what? Link in bio, guys. I've put it right there for you. So I've even made it easier. You can set aside everything I've said. Just go to my link in my bio. It'll take you there on all my other socials. So I highly endorse the product. I thoroughly love the product so much, I'm even ranting and raving about their packaging. But seriously, it's smart packaging, Tony. It's completely branded with the product. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. And then, oh, look, what do you know? It's right here. I am not kidding. You take this. Uh-oh. My microphone needs some Magic Mind or a blue pill. Looks like a box, right? Just a regular box. And then you think, oh, Magic Mind, and the logo also kind of looks like birds against the sunset. That's nice. That's cool. And it looks like many different boxes I've received many different products in. But then you pop the lid and look at this. Completely branded with terminology and stuff that you want in it. I mean, that is... It's not magic, it's you. Well, that's a wonderful thing. And magic meets science at Magic Mind. So there you go. Seriously, they've put a lot of thought into the product, and it's a quality product. So check it out. That's what I say. Hey, Tony, do you have theories or predictions for Deadpool and Wolverine?
Beyond the fact that we're going to be seeing lots of variants of not only Deadpool but Wolverine as well, I kind of had this perception that it's kind of like when there's a comic run called Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, and I'm kind of feeling they're going that direction. That they're kind of, the TVA is having them prune the timelines in a way, and they're basically doing the dirty work in order to protect like the small amount of whatever Deadpool is trying to protect, like his family and everything.
That's an interesting idea. However, if you've dipped into, and by you, I mean faithful viewer or listener, if you've enjoyed Loki seasons 1 and 2 on Disney Plus as well, look, we're not getting paid by Marvel. Okay. Wait, we're getting paid by Magic Mind. No, we're not. We're not getting paid by Marvel, even though this seems to be kicking off very Marvel heavy. My apologies. But if you've enjoyed Loki, one of the things that I would imagine, because the end of that show is Loki sacrificing himself, making the play that we never anticipated, much in the same way we got with Tony Stark at the end of Endgame. He sacrificing himself for the greater good so that all of the timelines can live. That's what it is, right? He grabs all of the different strands, all the timelines, all the stories, all the realities, and he powers them. So you have a great theory, but I don't think that matches up. But also, if you look at the trailer, okay, now Will's theorizing. If you look at the trailer, there's a certain point he's recruited into this by the TVA. And there's a point later in the trailer where he's clearly fighting TVA agents. So I don't know if there's something malicious going on at the TVA, if it's somebody misrepresenting themselves as the TVA, or nah, I got nothing. That's all I got.
All right, let me wax nerdy here for a minute because you went your route. I'm going to go my route here first. First of all, Loki sacrificed himself because the failsafe of the TVA, the what was it? What did they call it? The not the spindle, but it was
thing.
It was kind of like it was like the weaving of the timelines.
Right.
It was designed to trim all but the sacred timeline in the event of a failsafe. So that's why all of the timelines were dying, because the system wasn't working anymore. And so he sacrificed himself to give them all a chance. But there was still this perception of that things could still happen, that the multiverse could still collapse. There could still be the multiversal war, which means that incursions and multiverses collapsing is not out of the bag of opportunity here. They still could happen. And if you consider the idea that Deadpool is being introduced and shown the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I'm almost wondering if maybe it's not they're killing off other timelines, but they're killing off all of the non-MCU timelines. They're getting rid of all the X-Men so that they're going to pull from whatever. And I kind of think we might have it where at the end of everything, when Deadpool and Wolverine are fighting, I think that's toward the end of everything, because I think Wolverine realizes that Deadpool is basically killing multiple universes, and Wolverine was part of that. And it's because Wolverine was in some way blackmailed to protect his family. And that's when they work together, and you start seeing them, because there are scenes in the trailers where Deadpool is killing TVA agents.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, but I wasn't listening.
Fair enough, man. I wouldn't listen to me either. Look, here's the thing. I'm going to put it all out there.
I was listening.
You want to know who's the real villain of Deadpool and Wolverine? The thing that's right out in front of us that none of us realize? It's the minivan they're driving in. It's the minivan. None of you know that. It's the minivan. I've called it here. I've made my shot. Hey, speaking of making my shot, this weekend is the opening of Pixar's
Inside Out 2.
Inside Out 2. Again, we're not here to plug all the Disney products, but I'm really looking forward to it, but not for the reasons you may expect. I really loved that movie. I loved the first one because it really told a very important story that I think is good for parents to learn, to convey to their children. It's an important lesson for children to learn from watching it. I think it's a good lesson for everyone to kind of learn, which is, yes, it sucks to be sad, but the sad times are important because you can't get to being happy without also being sad. Or you can get through the sad times because it leads to the joyous times. So I'm super excited for that. But the other reason why I'm excited about it is because here in the city I live, there is a small local theater. You don't see a lot of small, independently owned movie theaters. Right now on the I know about two of them. One of them, Kevin Smith's Smodcastle Cinemas in beautiful Atlantic City, Highlands, New Jersey, which I'm nowhere near, or Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey, but that's nowhere near me. And in downtown Brentwood, there is the Delta Movie Theater that has been around since the 30s. And right before, in 2019, new people bought the buildings and they were refurbishing them, including the movie theater. That, I don't know if you know, 2020 kind of a thing happened. So it took them much longer than they anticipated. But that movie theater is reopening. And not only is it reopening, but I should have pulled the picture to share. It's also got some of the coolest looking seats I've ever seen. It looks like they are full leather recliners. And instead of a cup holder on the side, everybody has a little tiny table in front of them that they can set their
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
in. So
That's cool.
So they're going for luxury over volume. So I'm sure the tickets are a little bit more of a premium, but I'm still looking forward to it. I really want to go to that movie theater. Why am I bringing all of this up? I have no idea. Just thought I would share. Probably not going to have any popcorn buckets.
You were bringing
I
up
was going
Inside Out
to ask
too.
you if there are other theaters near you other than any major name brands or chains.
Honestly, there really isn't. I mean, with the exception of Regal, AMC, Cinemark, and then Alamo Drafthouse, there's not a lot of small theaters that really. I mean, the Regal is kind of really small, but it's not independent. But I will say, in the case of independent theaters, if you're in the Indiana area and you're near Madison, there's the Madison Six, which actually is owned by one of Nerd Initiative's very own members, Derek Hoskins from Paperweight Entertainment. They just took that over in March, and they're trying to revive it, and because it was closed for a while, and they've got a full arcade, and they're planning on doing a lot of fun stuff with it. So if you're in the Indiana area, I would say definitely check them out.
That's the same thing with this movie theater. It has 2 screens. But one of the things is at one of the screens, it also has a small stage. So they're going to get into more live events again, because I think way back in the day, it was owned by a couple. And one of the things that they specialized in was actually talent coming up from Mexico to perform for people as well. So I'm hoping they do a lot more live events there, even though it seems like people are having live event issues in booking them the way you see like Jennifer Lopez canceling tours and stuff. I think that's more about J-Lo than anything else to me.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, I always forget. No, you've got Blue Bubble energy. You two have an iPhone, right? Yes.
I do.
What did you think about the big Apple Worldwide Developer Conference announcements that were made this week? I have to tell you, I have not read about them. And the only thing I know about them is that which I have been told via TikTok, which every time I saw it was always just somebody recording the presentation from their seat in the amphitheater where it was done. And I only know of 2 things in the announcement. One, they have released the ability for us to customize the placement of our icons or our groups or our apps or what, so you can frame them around the screen and make nice picture thingies. And the addition of AI, which AI, schmai, whatever, but the former, it's like Apple is once again making announcements at features that Android has had for ages. But what was your hot take on everything they did? Because honestly speaking, those are the only 2 elements I know about.
Yeah, so I watched some of it, and it was like, okay, we're gonna make Siri better. Now what people don't realize is it's only gonna be better with the newer iPhones. I think that some of the premium Siri experiences only going to come out with the next, I think it's what, the iPhone 15.
Yeah.
So like so things like if you ask Siri to look up a certain location, like if you say like, check out what are the theater times at the Regal in Manassas, and it'll tell us like, okay, can you book me an appointment for whatever. It'll remember it. Well, you'll have to say, schedule me an appointment to go see a movie at Regal. It'll automatically know because of the previous, it'll go back to the history and pick up from what you've been asking it to do that stuff. Sure. Fine. That's great. The other one was if you are in a place and you can't say for Siri to do something, you can basically type out Siri, set an appointment, or set an alarm for like 8 a.m. and shut up, Siri. I'm not talking to you. So you can ask it Siri to do that by just texting Siri. And all I have to say is, if you have the time to sit out and text Siri saying, set an alarm for 9 a.m., just set the alarm for 9 a.m. You don't need to be texting the phone for the phone to do something. That's the dumbest thing I possibly can think of. They mentioned gesture controls for the AirPods. So like if you're in like I like the commercial for that. The guy's in an elevator full of people, and it's like your grandma's calling. Do you want to answer the call? And instead of saying like no or whatever, you could just go like this or go like this. And that's a nice feature. But I'm not wild about the AI part of it. Like, I'm sorry. I've been dealing with Facebook, mind you, because I look stuff up that's only Facebook, and I don't really use Facebook for much. But them incorporating AI into their search, the meta search, is driving me nuts. I don't want the search bar to give me like a full rundown when I'm looking up a specific location. Like it's too much, and it's frustrating, and it's taking away resources. So I'm not super wild about a lot of the updates that are coming out.
I have to admit the same as well, mostly because parts of the demonstration that I saw means that you're going to be giving Apple even more access to your personal data than it already has now. Because all of these things
Exactly.
can only happen because you're sharing data. And sure, yeah, maybe they have a way to homogenize or a way to anonymize the information, so that way when it's going into their servers, it's not directly tied to you or what have you. But I'm deeply concerned about the amount of information that we are freely giving away in order to for convenience. But at the same time, we've been doing it for years. Like raise your hand if you've got a Gmail account.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? You're giving away certain things because they have all this wonderful access and they can cookie you and the like. Let's not to mention how many times have you just been talking about something and then it's coming up in search results or ads or the like. They claim things aren't listening to you, but I know things have come up that I have not Googled, which, doing that, I understand I can get cookied for that. I can start letting the world know that I was looking for something like that. But if all I've done is talk about it and then it comes up, that's concerning to me. But on the flip side, what I will say is that if you are a creative type and you are trying, or you're a working type and you are trying very quickly to drill down to the answer of, how do I extract any information before or after this character in Excel, even though they got a feature in their text before, bad example. Or if you're trying to figure out how to do something in Adobe Premiere Pro or what have you, the AI addition in Google itself, when you're Googling, is handy because it will cut to the chase and give you a summary of the results and try and give you the best answer. So generative AI, I think in business, is one of the more buzzworthy terms right now. And when you see something like that result, you start to understand it more. But, asking Siri about something and it having information based on what I've got in email, and then knowing that I want to book something for something because of what I was saying and what's available in on my calendar, that's a little unnerving. But, otherwise, when it comes to features, one of the things I will say that Trent has constantly rubbed my nose in is that a lot of the innovations on iPhone really are features that have been available within the Android operating system for quite some time.
See, I remember a couple years ago, Google did an event where they were kind of showing off their AI, and this was like maybe 2 or 3 years ago at least, where they had the Google Assistant call a hairdresser and schedule an appointment for someone to get a haircut. And they told the phone, schedule me a haircut at this location. And they called up, like the AI assistant called the hairdresser and had a conversation with a live person asking as an assistant to schedule this appointment for this user. So I don't know. Apple's so behind. And of course, you heard how Elon is saying that if Apple incorporates OpenAI, he's going to ban all iPhones from his companies. They're going
Pretty
to
soon
turn
he's
them
going
in.
to get banned from all of his damn companies, so I'm not so worried about that. But one thing I will say, and this will be the seller for AI for me, I don't know what has changed over the years. And for those of you that are wondering, they're like, hey, Apple fanboy, why are you talking against Android? From about 2016 to 2018, I was in the Android operating system. I had got Google Glass. I figured it was best to be resident. And I was really impressed with a lot of the features that they had. And at that time, I was introduced to a third-party app, which has later been bought by Microsoft, which may answer the question I'm about to say. that would allow me for more predictive and better swiping. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with what swiping is, you should be if you got a smartphone, because it allows you to just drag your finger on the keyboard and it'll assemble the words. And this particular one, which I can't even remember the name of it anymore.
Was it like Swift or something?
That's the one. Thank you. God, Tony coming in clutch with the answer.
Well,
Way
it's
to
because
go.
Apple incorporated it too. They got a piece of the pie.
Yeah, and it was a great feature, and I loved it, and the way it could eerily and scarily start to actually almost write my sentences for me was great. But one of the things that I have noticed, and I do not know if it's because I think I still use Swift key on my iPhone. And look, guys, here's a question I'm asking you because I need the answer for what your experience is. As the years have gone on, I am having harder and harder times typing messages on my phone. The number of mischaracters that I incorporate when I try and type is incredible. And I don't know if it is because, I develop muscle memory, but the width of the phone does change. The general size of the phone does change from model to model.
Yeah,
Right.
but I completely hear you because I feel like my fingers are either getting fatter or the keys are getting smaller. Because I can tell you right now when I'm like typing out something, especially since a lot of the content that I'm making right now is X-Men related, I can't tell you how many times I accidentally will hit the delete button, or X-Men will turn into Seamen because of how close my thumb is to either letter. I don't know. Don't.
It'll become what?
Is that the X will then become a C? It'll be, yes, I know but not like SEA, but CMEN.
It's not even a goddamn word.
No, but it's a really, really poor gesture for something else when you're not really meaning it that way.
Well, you never get a second chance to make a first impression, Tony. I'm literally
no
at the
second
point-
chances, but there will be a first coming.
That is, especially with the Seamen.
Yeah.
I do freely admit that you are absolutely correct in the thing of texting your digital assistant to do something when you could just as easily click the clock icon and set an alarm. And when you add that in, I'm embarrassingly getting to the point where I will just hit the microphone symbol and I will speak what I'm doing because I will get far less errors in my messages when I do that.
Yeah.
Although I will tell you that when I use the CarPlay feature in my car, the number of messages I have given up trying to dictate because it's just not getting right what I'm saying is also very high. But I need to know if everyone else is having the same problem I am, because I don't think it's fatter fingers, Tony. I really don't. Our fingers don't fluctuate that much, do they?
I don't know. I just remember there being a day and time back when there were analog phones and they were like, I remember sitting in a car with a teenager and I looking over and they had their phones by their side and they were just, their thumb was going crazy and they weren't even looking at their phone and they were having a full text conversation with someone. And they're just like, their thumb was going like this the whole time. And it's because you remember, because when you would text on those Nokia phones, there was a dot. So you knew where the center of the keypad was. You just kind of remembered where things were. And yeah, I miss those days.
Well, one of the big things that was making news out of CES last year was the company that was making an analog add-on for the iPhone that had a physical keyboard that would make a USB connection that you could use. So you can still, it's not just a dream, Tony. You can still hold it in your hands and have an analog keyboard to type on if you want.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little.
Let's say this. When I got into smartphones, so I first had the HTC Hero. That was my first smartphone. When I got my first 4G smartphone, it was the Samsung Epic 4G that had the screen that flipped up and you had a full keyboard. Oh, I love that thing. But I kept breaking it. I kept messing it up because I kept trying to update the next thing. I had to get rid of Android, not because I didn't like Android, but because I had to find something that had consistency. And thankfully, Apple is so far behind that their product is consistent.
Product delay for consistency. If that isn't a message you can get from NetHeads, I don't know what is. By the way, folks, if just to give you a little bit of a reminder, because we're going to wrap up now, if you're saying to yourself, well, I don't understand, man. You haven't been on the air that darn long. One of the things I got to say is if you want to support the show through our Patreon, that's patreon.com/netheadsonair, the reason why you're like, hey, this show seems a little short, it's because guess what? Our Patreon supporters get the show before the show. They get the show after the show. You guys are just getting the show. So get more show for your show if you want to be one of our Patreon subscribers.
Quality is not guaranteed. You get what you pay for. Just be aware, we can never guarantee what you're going to hear. So.
And the rates are incredibly low, so don't worry about what you're paying for. Also, be sure to check out Tony everywhere you can on all social media. He is Mr. Marvelite or Mr. Marvel. No, Marvelite.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
He's Mr. Marv Elite everywhere on the internet. I am that.
I will never tell you stories like that again. I promise you.
You, Tony!
Until next time, folks, my name is Will.
And I'm Tony.
Live long and prosper.
And may the force be with you.
Why didn't we never even talked about the Acolyte? Oh well. Sorry.
I'm behind one episode anyway.
NetHeads. We'll be back soon.
Goodbye.
This has been a Smodco Internet production. Sip. Only at smodcast.com. What's amazing is I can now get the timing right on those things. But that is like the second time now I've taken the closing music and I have just stomped on something you're trying to say.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's perfectly fine. I understand how it is. You can do it anytime you want.
That is true. I have the power to do whatever I want, whenever I want.
You, Tony!
Speaking of which,